a group of women specifically behind me who are specialists in this space. And from the very beginning, we worked very hard to create a very truthful and honest story that could reflect the reality of what millions and millions of people go through every day.
It was a no-brainer. Colleen just laid out such a beautiful and clear roadmap for Lily's journey. I completely understood why she made the decisions that she made.
Nobody's talking about this, but they should be. This wasn't some last-minute Hollywood drama. Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds planned their takeover of It Ends With Us from the start. This wasn't about creative differences. It wasn't even about Justin Baldoni. And no, this wasn't where Blake fell for Justin and Ryan got jealous and lost it. This was about power, control, and a calculated move to hijack an entire franchise. Blake didn't just stumble into this role. She positioned herself strategically. She came in as just an actress, but behind the scenes, she was following the exact playbook Ryan used on Deadpool. He turned that franchise into a $785 million empire, negotiating a massive $20 million base salary and $40 million in back-end profits by the sequel. And now, Blake's using those same tactics to reshape her own career. So how did they do it? Step by step. Move by move, I'm breaking it all down, because once you see the full picture, you'll realize this was never just a movie, it was a power grab. This is another David versus Goliath fight, and of course, Justin is David. And for those of you on Team Lively, I ask you, stick around. Maybe I'm onto something you never knew. So please hit that like and subscribe, and let's get into this.
Not a big budget. So it was not something where we're like, oh, you know, let's have like the most successful singer of all time, you know, in our film. It was just not something we were considering. But it worked so well in the trailer that I was like, we got to put this in the movie. And there was a moment that was very important to me for Lily's journey, because there's something that happens in her life that sort of changes her perspective about what her future is going to be.
The dream begins. 2019 to 2022, Justin's passion project takes shape. Let's rewind to where it all started. 5 years ago, Justin Baldoni had a vision. He wanted to adapt It Ends With Us, a book that had captured millions of readers worldwide. But instead of waiting for a major studio to greenlight the project, he took a risk. He personally secured the film rights from Colleen Hoover, the author behind the best-selling novel. Hoover had built a massive fan base, and her books weren't just popular, they were cultural phenomena. Readers were emotionally invested, and Hollywood knew that a film adaptation would be a guaranteed success. But rather than handing it over to a major studio, Colleen made a surprising choice. She sold the rights to an independent filmmaker, Justin Baldoni. Justin wasn't a Hollywood powerhouse, but he had gained respect for his work on emotional, character-driven films like 5 Feet Apart and Clouds. He had experience bringing deeply personal, heartfelt stories to life. To maintain full creative control, he decided to fund the movie himself through his indie production company, Wayfarer Studios, a bold move that put his own money and reputation on the line. The film was set to be made on a strict $25 million budget, a relatively small number by Hollywood standards, but one that allowed Justin to stay independent from major studio interference. This wasn't just a business decision, it was personal. Justin wanted to tell this story his way. He believed in the message of It Ends With Us and saw it as an opportunity to make a film that could truly impact audiences. To show how deeply invested he was, he cast himself as Ryle Kincaid, ensuring that he would not only direct but become the face of the film. For a while, everything seemed to be going according to plan. Then, in January 2023, came the biggest casting announcement yet. Blake Lively would play Lily Bloom. Fans were excited. The film had all the makings of a massive success. It had a beloved source material, a dedicated director, and now an A-list actress attached to the lead role. But what people didn't realize was that this wasn't just a casting decision. This was the beginning of a takeover.
I think over the years, my fans and I, we kind of have a really funny sort of, like, they tease me a lot, and I enjoy it.
You do, yeah.
And one of the things, one of the things they like to make fun of me for is the kind of cryptic
Yes.
needing to plan things out, and like, I think we've just stopped pretending it's accidental at this point.
The takeover begins. Blake Lively's second move was waiting until half of the $25 million budget was spent before making major demands, leaving Justin Baldoni with no way out. By the time production had finalized her wardrobe with carefully selected outfits, she refused to wear them and demanded a complete redesign to fit her personal taste. This forced the production team to scramble for new outfits, stretching the budget even further. To make matters worse, she required her entire wardrobe be delivered to her and Ryan Reynolds' home for fittings, adding extra logistics costs that drained even more funds. This created tension with the crew and clashed with Justin's creative vision, completely undermining the film he had spent 5 years developing. So why didn't Justin just replace her? Because he couldn't. At this stage, with half the budget spent and Sony on board as a co-distributor, the project would collapse if Blake walked away. And with Justin self-funding the movie, his estimated $4 million net worth barely covering Blake's own paycheck, he was trapped. Now, Blake had all the power, and she was just one step closer to taking full control.
Yeah, I mean, for me, wardrobe is the way that I enter a character. If I feel like I'm dressed different than me, or that I'm expressing myself through wardrobe, because it's the way I express myself, or who I want to sort of project. So I felt like, you know, Lily's wardrobe was really, really important to me, that it was like, it was both utility and then fabulous glam. It was masculine and feminine. It was old and new, and it was all the things that she is. She's contradictions, but also you see how they make sense together.
The script takeover and the dragons move in. After forcing wardrobe changes, Blake Lively's next target was the script. But this time, she wasn't acting alone. She called in her dragons. In a text to Justin Baldoni, Blake referred to herself as Khaleesi and called Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift her dragons, a reference to Daenerys from Game of Thrones. The metaphor was clear. Ryan and Taylor weren't just her friends. They were her enforcers. Ryan Reynolds, known for his sharp scriptwriting in Deadpool, helped Blake rewrite dialogue and scenes without consulting Justin or the screenwriter. One of the biggest changes? The rooftop conversation between Ryle and Lily. The screenwriter was unaware of the rewrite, thinking it had been improvised, but in reality, Blake and Ryan had crafted it behind the scenes. And then came the most manipulative move yet. Blake invited Justin over to her home, supposedly to discuss ideas. What he didn't expect? Ryan Reynolds and Taylor Swift were waiting for him. As soon as he arrived, they showered Blake's rewritten script with praise, cornering Justin in an intense pressure tactic. They pushed for approval, forcing Justin to remind them, "I am the director." But when that didn't work, Blake switched tactics. Late that night, she sent Justin a text, expressing disappointment. Feeling guilty, Justin left a voicemail at 2 a.m., apologizing and agreeing to the changes. And with that, Blake regained control, bringing her one step closer to her ultimate goal.
He's in Kent, and one of our editors, Shane Reed, who, fun fact, he was my editor on Taylor's music video that I directed, and I was obsessed with him, and I was like, this guy is amazing. And he never edited a movie before. He just finished Deadpool and Wolverine, and he came on and helped us with this one, and he has incredible taste in music.
Exploiting the writer's strike, Blake's final power move. By this point, Blake Lively had already forced wardrobe changes, taken control of the script, and leveraged her dragons to pressure Justin Baldoni. But her most calculated move was yet to come. When the Hollywood writers and actors' strikes halted production, most of the industry saw it as a setback. Blake saw it as an opportunity. Taking inspiration from Ryan Reynolds' own career tactics, she used the pause in filming to renegotiate her contract, but not just for a pay raise. She came back with 17 non-negotiable demands, pushing for greater creative control, oversight, and decision-making power over key aspects of the film. At this point, Justin was completely trapped. Sony, as a co-distributor, saw Blake as the film's biggest marketing asset. Losing her would jeopardize their investment. Blake's previous demands had already forced budget overruns, bleeding Justin's personal finances into the project. Replacing Blake wasn't an option. If she walked away, the film would collapse. With Sony's backing and the power of the Hollywood strike behind her, Blake now had full control. And Justin, he was no longer the one calling the shots.
Yeah, and we share the same composer as well from Deadpool and Wolverine. So there's a lot of
There's a lot of sharing happening.
Infiltrating the editing room, the final takeover. After forcing wardrobe changes, rewriting the script, and leveraging the Hollywood strike, Blake Lively had one final move to secure her control over It Ends With Us, taking over the editing room. For directors, the editing phase is sacred. Industry rules protect a director's cut period, ensuring that the film's final shape aligns with the director's creative vision. But just as Justin Baldoni thought production was finally behind him, Blake made her next move. Using her executive producer status, Blake requested access to the editing bay, normally off-limits during this phase. At first, she was granted 2 days, but through strategic maneuvering, she extended it to 10 days, long enough to assemble an alternate cut of the film. And she wasn't alone. Ryan Reynolds, known for being hands-on in post-production for Deadpool and Free Guy, stepped in to assist. Together, they replaced the original editors with their own hand-picked team, including at least one who had worked on Deadpool. But Blake wasn't the only one making power moves. Taylor Swift also got involved. The film's original composer was fired, not for creative reasons, but because Taylor allegedly had personal issues with him from a past project. The composer was replaced with someone from Ryan's Deadpool team. In the end, 2 versions of the film existed, Justin's cut and Blake's cut. Studio test screenings favored Justin's version, but knowing Blake, she wouldn't back down until she got exactly what she wanted.
Hey, guys.
I know.
Wow.
We are so great to see you. You look fantastic. Thanks for coming back.
Thank you so much. That was really nice, guys.
I mean, there's such a buzz around the whole block in New York City, just the fact that you're here. We're so excited.
The final ultimatum. Promote my version or else after forcing script changes, hijacking the editing process, and stacking the production with her own people, Blake Lively made her final, most ruthless move. She issued an ultimatum to Justin Baldoni. Either the studio chose her version of the film or she would refuse to promote it. If Blake walked away from press tours and red carpet events, it would be a PR disaster. As the film's lead actress, her absence would send a clear message. Something was wrong with the movie. This kind of negative buzz could tank the film before it even hit theaters. But Blake took it even further. She allegedly threatened to take Colleen Hoover with her. If both the film's star and the book's author refused to promote the movie, Justin's version would be dead on arrival. The marketing campaign relied on Blake's star power and Colleen's massive fan base, and without them, the studio would have no way to sell the film. Blake and Ryan understood their influence perfectly, and they used it to hold the production hostage. At this point, Justin had no options left. He had spent years bringing It Ends With Us to life, only to watch it slip completely out of his control, stealing producer credit, the final power move. At this point, Blake Lively had already taken control of the wardrobe, the script, the editing, and even the film's marketing. But she wasn't done yet. She had one last move, securing a formal producer credit. But before she could cement her takeover, she had to humiliate Justin Baldoni one last time. At his own film's premiere, Justin, who had spent 5 years bringing It Ends With Us to life, was sent to the basement. It should have been one of the most beautiful nights of my life, career-wise. Instead, I was literally sent to the basement with my family and friends. I wasn't allowed to be seen. Justin's exclusion from his own premiere wasn't a coincidence. It was a statement. Blake and Ryan had positioned themselves as the true faces of the film, and now Blake was making a push for official producer status. If you found any of this interesting or entertaining at all, please like and subscribe. And lastly, the PGA Power Play. Why Blake wanted a producer credit. To get an official Producers Guild of America credit, a producer must meet key industry requirements. And when you look at them side by side with Blake's moves, her strategy becomes painfully obvious. A producer must be involved in story development. Blake rewrote parts of the script. Producers must hire key personnel. Blake fired Justin's editors and brought in her own. A producer must oversee post-production. Blake and Ryan spent 10 days in the editing room. Producers must contribute to the film's music. Blake used her Taylor Swift connection to add My Tears Ricochet to the soundtrack. A producer must both be involved in marketing. Blake and Ryan attempted to cross-promote It Ends With Us and Deadpool 3. Everything Blake did, from hijacking creative decisions to pushing her connections into the production, was designed to check every box needed for PGA producer status. But why was this so important? Because this wasn't just about It Ends With Us. This was about Blake's career, the real endgame, a power move for millions. Blake wasn't just trying to control one film. She was following Ryan's career blueprint, starting small, securing a producer title, and leveraging it for bigger projects and multi-million-dollar back-end deals. Ryan took a low salary for Deadpool 1, gained creative control, and by the sequel was earning $20 million in one and another $40 million for the second in back-end profits. Blake took a lower salary for It Ends With Us, pushed for creative control, and aimed to negotiate future film rights and back-end profits. And her ambitions didn't stop there. Blake and Ryan weren't just after It Ends With Us. They wanted the entire Colleen Hoover film franchise. In an interview, Blake openly said, "If Colleen has her rights, I'll follow this woman anywhere." Shortly after, Colleen Hoover launched her own production company, Heartbones Entertainment, raising questions about whether she was working directly with Blake and Ryan on future projects. This wasn't about one movie. This was about empire building, the irony, Blake's Khaleesi fate, as Blake referred to herself as Khaleesi, a reference to Daenerys Targaryen from Game of Thrones, the powerful queen who used her dragons to conquer and rule. But how did Daenerys' story end? She flew too close to power. She went too far. And in the end, Jon Snow, who just so happens to share a very similar man bun with Justin Baldoni, took her down. The trial is set for March 2026, and you already know Brian Friedman is out here fighting to get the truth out. But now, I want to hear from you. Is Blake really just following Ryan's playbook, or is there even more to this story? And the big question, can Justin ever recover from this? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe so you don't miss the next update. Stay safe, stay cool, and I'll catch you next time.